This being the month of me taking a look at black repaints of Optimus Prime, whether they're just Optimus Prime in black or actual Nemesis Primes or Nemesis Prime surrogates, it does stand to reason that in addition to looking at new figures that I haven't covered previously on the channel, we're going to be looking at some figures that I have previously covered in one form or another. And of course, here we have the Powermaster Optimus Prime mold, but it's not actually Powermaster Optimus Prime. This specifically is Nucleon Quest Super Convoy. I don't think it'll surprise anyone to know that I have absolutely no idea about the fiction involving this figure or the reason why it's Powermaster Optimus Prime in black or anything like that, but it's a black repaint of Optimus Prime, so we're going to talk about it here. And you can clearly see right from the start, because of the gigantic Autobot logo that is not Shattered Glass, it's just regular Autobot, that this is in fact a Optimus Prime Autobot character in black rather than a proper Nemesis Prime. And that's totally fine because, as I said, it's a black repaint of Optimus Prime. It counts. And this is really, I mean, there's, aside from the colors, there is nothing different about this figure versus the regular Powermaster Optimus Prime figure. So if you've seen that video, then, or any video on it, if you're familiar with that toy, then you're familiar with this. It's just a different color scheme. That said, I of course like this better because it's Nemesis Prime colors, or it's a black color scheme. It's not technically Nemesis Prime colors because there's no teal on this. You get a little bit of red on the windows, but that's these windows. We'll see it when we get to the smaller robot mode, but the regular windows are actually standard blue. But anyway, it's cool. It's the same exact figure. I do think it both works better and doesn't work as well in this color scheme. Let's get this little Powermaster buddy out of the way here real quick so we can talk about that a little bit. So as you can see, I've got all the accessories on here. I'm going to take these off as well so we can just look directly at the trailer without anything cluttering up the view. All of these accessories are exactly the same as they were on Powermaster Prime. They're just all black and blend in with what's going on here. Now, when I say that this is a bit of an improvement and also not necessarily an improvement on the color scheme, what I mean is having everything in black makes it very cohesive. Like this whole thing, it's obviously the joints and separation between things is still there, especially when you look at things like texture, because you've got this texture along here, but then you've got this spot where there is none, and like the obvious seams. You can clearly see where things are broken up, but because it's all black, it does blend in better. So that is a benefit of this color scheme. The downside to that is it's almost all black. So there's very little color separation and breakup in at least the truck and trailer mode. You get a little bit of silver on the rims, a little bit of silver for the thighs / I guess gas cans, if you want to call them that, and like some of the detail going on up here, and also obviously the big sticker going through, but like that's kind of it. Other than that, it's like pins and screws are the only thing adding color to this, so it's just one big black blob of color with a couple of very small hits of color elsewhere. And I mean, that's okay, really. As I said, personally, I actually prefer this over the regular Optimus Prime colors, and that includes Powermaster Optimus Prime. But I can acknowledge that this definitely has its limitations in terms of like visual interest for the color scheme. But it's still good. It's still a good looking figure. I still really like how this set, for all its age and simplicity, is able to give you a pretty decent looking truck and trailer combo when considering like all the stuff that these do. Again, yes, it's very simple and it does have its drawbacks, but I think it's nice. I like it. Now let's move this off to the side. Also, the peg that acts as a trailer hitch is surprisingly sturdy. So there is that. I'm not going to like swing it around like that, but I appreciate how solid that is. Okay, now, real quick, we're going to take a look at the accessory bits. So here we've got the larger dual cannons that were plugged on the side, and these are exactly the same as the Powermaster Prime figure, except they're in black instead of gray. There is some nice molding on there. The shape is really cool, and it does that thing that everyone seems to forget the older toys did when they complain about modern toys using, you know, waffling and open gaps and stuff in the plastic. This has always been a thing, people. Stop whining. I get that it's not something that you like. I don't like it either, but it's not new. Stop acting like it's new. You can complain about it all you want, but don't act like the original toys were somehow better. Because they weren't. Anyway, yeah, same guns. They look good from this angle. Not so good from this angle, but you're not really going to see them from this angle ever. So there's that. And then you also get two of the large handgun things that I believe these were in black for Powermaster Optimus Prime, so these aren't new at all. And these are also waffled quite a bit, but they're at least done in a way that could work as texture. It's a good shape, good size. They're not painted, they're just straight up plastic, and that's fine. That's kind of what they were originally. And now the little Powermaster guy. I do not know what this guy's name is. I don't... If you all know, feel free to tell me, but it's fine. And this guy, again, all black. I do think that the original Powermaster for, what was it, Haikyuu was this guy's original name? Maybe? I don't know. I could be wrong. But I think that guy is a little bit better looking just in terms of like visual distinction. Because he's got, you know, gray and white and red colors that stand out a bit. This guy is just entirely black. But that said, while he is entirely black, I do think it's actually kind of cool because one, looks kind of neat, and two, the little hits of silver you get in like the chest and the visor stand out really nicely. And when you've got some good light on this thing so you can see the texture, I think it does make him look really cool. Now, posability on this guy is the same as the other guy, which is to say practically non-existent. The arms can move forward and back, and the legs can move out at the knee or out at the hip. And that's it. That's all this guy does. But you don't get him to be a little action figure. You get him to work as part of the Powermaster gimmick. So to do that, I'm going to transform him into his engine. And, well, actually, no, we're not going to transform him yet because we've got to do size comparisons first. So we'll do size comparisons, then we'll do that. So anyway, yeah, there he is. Now let's bring the truck and trailer back in here. This is going to be interesting to show off. Don't entirely know how I'm going to do this. Guess we'll split up the trailer. Just do something like this. Yeah, I think that works. Prop him up there. Let's scoot you all over a little bit. Okay. So there we have everyone off to the side for size comparisons. Let's bring in our actual comparisons. There we've got Artfire and Rotor Storm as always. And of course, Ova Prime. And Samus and Burnout. So you can see how this all stacks up. I'd say that the cab for hi honey, for Super Convoy is roughly modern Voyager size, but also it's extremely simple and made out of very dense materials and has some die cast in it, so it's heavier. But anyway, that is all them. And Astrid's in an attention-grabby mood all of a sudden, even though she was sleeping behind me for several minutes. So that's fun. I'm sure she's going to jump up and throw everything off and mess up the camera at some point in the near future. But before she does that, just because, here is Super Convoy and everything with one of my handful of G1 characters. My original G1 character, the Transformer I've owned the longest, Bumblebee. Had this guy since the 80s. And just gonna just because we've got the little Powermaster guy here, we'll turn him into his robot right now, and you can see that is how Bumblebee measures up to the little Powermaster guy. So there's that. And finally, let's bring in the most important size comparison of them all. Here is everything with the duck tank. And just like I knew she would, Astrid has jumped up on my lap and nudged the camera a little bit, but she hasn't thrown it off completely, so hopefully the cut is not super noticeable. But anyway, now that we are done with all of that, it's time to move on to the first bit of transformation. And before we do all of that, here's an Astrid. Before we do all of that, just want to let you all know, if you like this video or any of the other videos that I've done on the channel, or you like the fact that NemeSeptember has been brought back, and you want to support the channel for any reason, I do have Patreon. There's a link down in the description, and if you sign up for the Patreon, which I only have a single $1 tier, that gets you early access to new videos in addition to, as I said, supporting the channel. So that is a thing you could do. If you'd rather support the channel without spending money, which is totally understandable, you could always do the typical YouTube stuff of like comment, share, subscribe, and so on. Or there's a different link down in the description to join the Discord server for a website called ShowZ. I use them a lot for third-party masterpiece and knockoff orders. They're overseas, but they have like pretty good turnaround time, really nice prices, and great customer service. And yeah, if you join the Discord server, they've got a pretty nice community they're setting up there. If you join the Discord server using that link, it gets me a little bit of store credit that I can put towards purchasing more stuff in the future. So with all that out of the way, let us transform things. Now, transforming the little Powermaster guy, exactly the same. You want to keep the fists forward a little bit, because if you have them back, there's a chance that this joint might catch on the fist, and you don't want to risk putting undue stress on those parts, especially because they're kind of thin. Astrid, leave your brother alone. Finley took the box behind my my desk, and she was getting jealous. All right, so with the arms out of the way, you just bring the legs out and do big split, then bring the legs up further, which looks extremely painful. Then you can bring the arms back down, and that's it. And now he is a little engine. And to transform the cab, you push this guy in here, but if you, for whatever reason, I think I talked about this in the Powermaster video, but if for whatever reason you have Powermaster Prime in one form or another and you don't have the engine, you can push this panel in, and there is this little tab right here. That is the mechanism that keeps the legs locked into place. So if you push that little pin down, that unlocks this. So you don't need the engine to do the transformation, but yeah, that is that. But we're gonna do it anyway, so plug this in, and plugging that in will both give you this cool looking engine on the front of the cab and unlock the legs, so you can now bend them down. And we'll also hold down the waist section, hold out the feet, open up the arms, and fold down the arms at the elbow. And lastly, there's this panel here. You just want to pull that up to reveal the head, and there is, I guess, just Convoy, since this is Super Convoy, Nucleon Quest Convoy in robot mode. We'll look at him more in a second, because we still have one more thing to do. We've got to do the base mode for the trailer. So I've done the typical thing that everyone does, which is store the combined mode head in the cab section, or in the trailer section rather. So I'm just gonna open these up, toss that out, and yes, you can open up the trailer like that. And actually, while we've got him all trailered and open, let's see, we got G1 Bumblebee can drive up the ramp and tuck in there. So if you wanted to use the trailer for something like that, you could absolutely do that. But anyway, with that done, we're going to leave these open. I want to pull this up because there are these little tabs that sit on the inside here. So I'm going to pull that up so we can fold this in on both sides. With that in, now we can split the legs and bring them out. You want to bring them out all the way. Uh-oh. That doesn't feel good. There we go. Bring them out all the way. Now, I'm going to rotate it around. This panel will come down all the way. These chunks here, this is the bit that folded in for the trailer. These chunks will flip forward on both sides. And then this panel will fold out to make ramps. So there we have that. And regrettably, these bits aren't quite solid enough. They don't peg in or anything like that, so they kind of droop, which sucks, but it's fine. It's the underside of the base mode. I can deal. But anyway, with that, now we want to start attaching things. So we're going to rotate the arms out, the obvious arms, and bring those up. I'm going to plug in the guns, which plug into the sides right here, and you can have them straight up like smokestacks or whatever. That's usually what I like to do, but you can angle them if you want to do that. This piece flips forward to make like a big gun. The super mode head, I just plunk back there so that's hidden. And then the guns, the double-barreled guns, can peg into little holes on these platforms and make little base guns. And there we have Nucleon Quest Super Convoy's base mode, which is exactly the same as Powermaster Optimus Prime's base mode, but I do think this is a cool and successful base mode for what it is. Like, both for the fact that it's a G1 figure and also, like, it is a robot that's doing an awkward split, but at the same time, it's not as obviously a robot doing an awkward split, which I think is mostly due to the fact that these older toys, they tended to have extra flaps and things that allowed this stuff to stand out a bit more. Like what I mean is, for example, Earthrise Scorponok. I love Earthrise Scorponok, but like the base mode, even though it's the more successful base mode of a lot of the Titans recently, it's still an obvious robot doing a yoga pose, and there's nothing really that kind of sets things apart. Like, you've got ramps that fold out of the feet, and that's kind of it. But this, you've got like entire platforms that open up and create mini ramps and things like that. You've got all this new detail that's being revealed with like windows that could be something for like smaller figures to peek out of. I don't know, I guess it's because of the whole relying on imagination thing of like the 80s. Maybe they were just better at like pushing things a little further. I just feel like modern Titans are missing some of those little extra bits to make the base modes more effective. But that's also probably because base modes are not exactly the highest priority when you're designing a almost 2 foot tall, close to $200 thing. You know, they probably figure alt modes plus robot mode. Robot mode is the big thing. Now, one other thing to do, we can take little Powermaster guy and plug him into the guns. There's little notches here, and there's this little tab in an unfortunate place. You just push those together and then can bring the legs back down, and now he is sitting in the gun and ready to shoot at any oncoming, I guess, Decepticons in this context. And again, cool base mode. It does have that same problem that I mentioned with the trailer, where you've got everything in black, so it both works better cohesively, but also makes it look more bland, because there's a lot less color breakup. But thankfully, in this mode, there are a lot of stickers. There are just so many stickers that add some much needed color and detail to all of this. So yeah, I still think this is a pretty successful base mode. With that said, let's get that out of the way and bring in Convoy. And again, it's Powermaster Optimus Prime without the Powermaster, and it looks good. It's I think these are the same stickers that they had on the other figure, but just, you know, different color layout. It's all black with the silver thighs, and that's fine. At first I thought, oh no, did I get some kind of knockoff without realizing it because of the gaps back here? But no, that's there. The official toy has that too. I mean, not saying this isn't official, just saying the figure that I knew was official also has this, so this is not an indicator. I don't question whether or not this is official. It's just, yeah, that kind of threw me off for a second. It doesn't anymore. But yeah, it's a cool looking Prime for what it is. Or Convoy rather. I like the detailing. Granted, a lot of it is stickers, but I do like it, and it's interesting. It's interesting to have a black repaint of an Optimus Prime with blue chest windows. I don't mind it. It's just interesting. It does, again, need a bit more color breakup, I think, but then the solid black with silver in a few places does look nice. It's just kind of, it's always a toss-up, and it's always going to be a toss-up, even in the fully combined mode when we eventually get to that, how it both looks really good because black repaints are always awesome, and it is a more cohesive color scheme overall, but it also looks a little bit more bland because there's a lot less color breakup. So it's kind of, it fluctuates. Ultimately, it just depends on what you're looking for. Me, I'm more interested in black repaints of Optimus Prime, so this is totally my jam. But if someone wants, you know, more visual interest in their figures, then this may not be the thing for them. But yeah, it's a sturdy, very, doesn't really do much Optimus Prime. Like, the posability is, it's G1-ish. You know, the head can kind of move up and down, but not really. The arms can butterfly in, but it looks really awkward. You've got elbows. So that's something. Really nice elbow bend because of the transformation. The legs can move forward and back, but it's kind of awkward. The knees can bend, but the legs are connected here and they all move together. So, like, you're not gonna, like, you could get him to sit or squat or do some kind of really awkward G1 style hero pose, but you're not going to do anything really. The feet, they bend forward because of the transformation, but they don't bend back. So yeah, that's really the only posability you get of the arms, and that's just the elbows. Now the head is Optimus Prime. It is just Optimus Prime's head in black with the silver face plate, silver head crest, and then blue eyes. I really like the blue for the eyes, though. That is a really nice shade of blue that they chose. I like that it's brighter than the blue for the chest windows, too, because the chest windows look a little bit dull on the black. This works a lot better on red. I do think this would look cooler if they had gone with red, but I get it. It's not actually Nemesis Prime, so it is what it is. But yeah, that is it for Convoy / Super Convoy, whatever. And you can have him like standing on the base if you want. You can put him in the back if you want to do that. If we get the head out of the way, we can have him kind of standing in here, which is an option. I don't know. It's like, I like the base mode, but it doesn't really give this guy much to do. If you wanted to, you could give him any of the guns. So like you could pop this in his hand, and now he's got the gun. But the problem with this, and this is a problem with the regular Powermaster version as well, is the gun is big enough that you can't bring the arm up any further than that. So it looks cool with him holding this big cannon, but he can't actually do anything with it. He can't point it forward. The double-barreled guns you can plug in his hand as well. Like, they do fit, but because of all the geometry going on here, you're not gonna, like, good luck doing anything with it. Because, as you can see, this is pretty much the only angle it fits at, and even then just barely. Like, I think it actually would work better to plug it in like this. Get that to fit around there. Yeah. He can hold them, though. He can technically hold them. though, if you really want him to do that, you can do that. Okay, let's get that up and out of the way so we can park him there. And slide all this over and do one more bit of size comparisons. Actually, forget the base. I don't think we need to do size comparisons with a splooted out base. So instead, we're just going to focus on size comparisons with Convoy. So there is Convoy, and we've got Artfire and Rotor Storm, along with Bova Prime and Samus and Burnout. So yeah, the vehicle mode, I would say, was roughly Modern Voyager-ish in size. The robot mode is, I'd say, roughly Modern Leader-ish height in terms of size. So pretty substantial, but as is the case with all these things, also very simple. I mean, it's by design, obviously, but that is how that breaks down. And then we saw a little hint of this before, but I'm going to bring it back. Here we've got Convoy with G1 Bumblebee, which is, I guess in a way, kind of weirdly to scale. So there is that. And lastly, here he is with the duck tank. Alright, since we already did the shilling for stuff thing with the previous transformation, I'm going to skip it for this one and get straight to it. Before we do this guy, though, we're going to transform everything else. So I'm going to put that head off to the side. We're going to take the Powermaster guy off of there and turn him back into an engine. And plug him back into Convoy here. And you'll just sit there and take off all these guns and accessories. And we're basically turning this back into a trailer. At the very least, like, you want to get these arms out of the way. I learned that the hard way. But fold these up and fold these up and fold in the ramps. Fold in the ramps. There we go. Kind of disconcerting how some of these things stick a little bit, but seems to be holding up anyway. So pull that up. Bring down the robot mode legs. So scary. Like, the joints don't feel like they're going to break, but it's an old toy, so it's just kind of alarming to have to put that much force into moving it. Anyway, now this thing, instead of being up here like it was for the trailer mode, this folds all the way onto the back. And I got to raise this up, show off what I'm doing a little bit better. The arms now can fold out again, but instead of folding up like they were for the base mode, they can go forward. Because this uses the Powermaster Prime or God Jinrai, whatever mold that they that came with like the armor, so it's got the fists that slide in and out, so you also want to slide out the fists. And this is, I mentioned this during the Powermaster Prime video, but like, this is my preferred version of this mold. I don't like the one that has the fists just sticking out. I like having the fists slide out because it just cleans up the trailer a little bit more. And also you can see there is another base sticker on the inside there, which is something you'd see from the back. But anyway, with the armor thing ready to go, now we can bring in Prime again, or Convoy, turn him mostly back into a trailer. Or, not trailer, truck cab. Fold that up. So now that he's back like that, want to take the knees and fold them up to turn him into this little box thing. And then the box thing just drops in here and will kind of settle into place. And then you take the super mode head and that just plugs into the top here. And that will plug in, and there we have Nucleon Quest Super Convoy without all of his stuff attached in his main combined mode. And this is cool and has all the same pros and cons that I talked about before. So we're just going to add this stuff because he looks naked without it. So we're going to plug these dual guns into the shoulders. You can put them in his hands if you want. You don't have to plug them into the shoulders. He can hold them like that, but I just feel like they belong on the shoulders. And of course, if you want to, you can angle them however you want. I prefer to go up like smokestacks. And then these guns can plug into the fists. And there we go. Now he is fully decked out. And again, very cool look. I like this, like the fact that this exists in what is basically Nemesis colors is awesome. But again, same problem as everything else, where it's so black that it just gets kind of dull in a way, but it's also really cool because black repaints are cool. It definitely makes the sticker details, the chrome thighs, the stuff in the cab that's not black, and like other bits like the face and whatnot, it makes that stuff stand out really, really well. I do not think that this deco overall is worse or weaker than the regular Powermaster Optimus Prime deco, and I don't think it's necessarily better either. It's, as I said before, pretty much entirely based on what you're looking for. Because I'm more into black repaints of Optimus Prime, this is what I'm looking for. Yeah, it looks cool. It is a brick also, as we saw, but before we talk about that, we got to talk about the super mode head, which I'm just going to pop off, and it's a big, kind of more stylized with these little pods on the sides of the head and like extra angles and whatnot design, but it looks cool. It's painted really nicely. I, again, really like the silver for the face and head crest and that really, really nice striking blue that they use for the eyes. I do think if these were red eyes, it would work better as a Nemesis, but as I've said many times, this is not a Nemesis, so I understand why they didn't do that. But I also like how they made the angles on this head a little bit sharper, make it look a little bit more serious, while also still being a little bit kind of puffy. And yeah, it's a cool design. It's a timeless design. We all love a Powermaster Optimus Prime, and in black, it looks spectacular. Posability is, it technically exists. The arms can go forward at the shoulder, so you can go around like that. They can go out, which is something. Technically some posability. The head doesn't really move. You can unplug it and kind of turn it at that little peg, which it kind of works, but it also kind of doesn't, because it's the center is up front here rather than on the back. So the more you turn it, the more ridiculous it starts to look. But if you turn it like ever so slightly, it can kind of work. You could maybe have Prime doing something silly like that if you wanted to try and get a little bit more dynamic with the posing, but it's really not intended to turn. And then the legs, they can go out up to a full 90 if you want to do that. So that's an option. Not one I would personally recommend, but it's an option. So you can get, for a G1 toy, kind of dynamic. But the problem with this is you can see like this area here is where it's actually touching the ground. So when you splay the legs out like that, it makes it so that he's gonna wanna, like, he kind of leans forward a bit if you nudge him even slightly. On the plus side, he's still, like, this is actually pretty stable. Like, he's not falling over like this. He's just leaning forward, which is kind of annoying, but it's a thing. But again, I personally prefer to just have the legs straight, because this is a G1 toy. He doesn't need to be all like fancy and highly dynamically posed, even if you can kind of budget in a couple of places. With all that out of the way, it is time for our final round of size comparisons. And as you might expect, this guy's pretty big because he's basically the height of the length of the trailer, because it's just the trailer standing up with the head on top. But here he is with Artfire. and Rotor Storm, and Over Prime, Samus, and Burnout. And boy, Burnout sure does look kind of tiny next to, well, I mean, they all look kind of tiny next to this. Because it's Powermaster Optimus Prime. He's a big toy. Not Fort Max big, but you know, he's sizable. Sizable and chunky and hefty and very cool. Alright, get all you out of here. Gonna wrap this up. Here he is with G1 Bumblebee. He is so small. So cute. G1 Bumblebee is basically the size of this guy's head. It's very funny to me. And finally, size comparison you've all been waiting for. Here he is with the Duck Tank. And there we go! We made it through a Nucleon Quest Super Convoy video. This guy is kind of, to a degree, I guess, he's kind of the centerpiece of my Nemesis Prime collection, which at this point, as I think I mentioned, is up to 24 now. So not the biggest in the world, I'm sure, by any stretch of the imagination, but it's pretty significant for me. So yeah, he's kind of the centerpiece because this is the oldest one of the bunch in terms of like when it came out. And not necessarily the hardest to find. I think that distinction would go towards the Transformers Go Beast Hunter Optimus Prime in Nemesis colors that we covered a little while ago. But this is very cool, and it's a classic. It's a wonderful toy. I kind of regretted getting rid of Powermaster Optimus Prime because, as simple as he is, he's just fun to mess with. And even though he's like a simpler G1 toy, he does have presence. And so getting that in the one available black repaint color scheme was fantastic. But that is enough about what I think of Nucleon Quest Super Convoy. What do you all think of this guy, and by extension, the Powermaster Prime mold in general? Also, I think it'd be really cool if we did, like if they did the Legends Powermaster Prime or God Jinrai or whatever in Super Jinrai in this color scheme. At this point, I don't think they're gonna. It's been long enough. Titan's Return and all that is just over and done with. I don't think they're bringing it back, but it'd be cool if they did. But anyway, whatever your thoughts of any of that stuff, please feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. Thank you everybody for watching, and for our next NemeSeptember video, we're getting close to the end, but we are actually not done with the Powermaster Optimus Prime homages because we have yet another black repaint of one very similar figure to look at.